All right, let's focus on what's going on in Lebanon, particularly southern Lebanon, and Israel, particularly northern Israel. Today's development is Hamas says the leader of its Lebanese group has been killed by Israeli airstrikes. The leader of Hezbollah, of course, was killed a couple of days ago. Israel is continuing to bomb. It is continuing, it seems, to prepare for some kind of ground incursion. Whether it's a full invasion, who knows? What is intriguing is the Israelis are making no secret about it, and they're saying they're going to use their forces from air, sea, and land. They seem to want everyone to believe that there's some kind of ground invasion coming. At the moment, the Israelis are acting beyond constraint. Clearly, the Americans have no rein or choke chain on them at all. Didn't even tell them about the strike against the Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah. Didn't tell them in the past when they hit that consulate in Damascus. Didn't tell them when they were going to kill a Hamas leader in Iran. The boundaries have just gone down, Israel acting with impunity, and the very alarming thing I read today is that as a result, Benjamin Netanyahu's poll ratings have rocketed. And according to those polls in Israel, if an election were held tomorrow, he would retain power. Yes, in a coalition government. He doesn't have majority support, but he would have enough, if those polls hold, to form yet another government. And considering where he was politically a year ago, that is extraordinary and depressing, because it will only encourage him to act with even further impunity. But what happens next? Is there going to be a ground offensive? To what aim? To what end? Iran is remarkably quiet, all things considered. Let's go now to Stephen Gruzd, who is an analyst at the South African Institute of International Affairs. Stephen, a very good afternoon to you. What do you make of all of this?
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me. I think it is certainly Israel having the upper hand over the last 2 weeks. It's had a remarkable series of successes. It hasn't admitted to the pager bombings, but nobody really suspects anybody else. And these elimination of top leadership of Hezbollah, including the very head of Hezbollah, Nasrallah, and yes, making noises about preparations for a ground war. I think Israel's been looking for this opportunity for a while. There have been continual rockets from Hezbollah since the 8th of October last year, terrorizing the north of the country, and 60,000 people have left their homes there. And Israel has stated that one of its new war aims is to return them safely. And at the very least, I think that will be pushing Hezbollah forces over the Litani River, which is 25 kilometers from the Israeli border with Lebanon. That'll be the minimum that they're looking for. But yeah, I think they are emboldened, and they have had a string of successes that they haven't had over the last year.
They see it as successes, and militarily, I suppose they are. But geopolitically, are they successes? Are they not setting themselves back in the long term? Are they not making it more difficult to secure the northern part of their country?
It's a very difficult question to answer. I think Israel is determined to do what suits itself. It's not really worried about what anybody else is. And as you pointed out, the Americans have not been able to rein them in. And, long term, I think there may be, there definitely will be consequences from this. I think it's a turning point. The bombing of the Hezbollah headquarters on Friday was just unprecedented. And, one wonders if in the long term this is making the country more insecure rather than secure, whether short-term tactical wins on the battlefield are not going to be long-term problems. But I think Iran is indecisive at the moment. It's in disarray. Hezbollah is in disarray, and Israel wants to press the advantage.
But they've done this in the past. They've certainly been into Lebanon. They've occupied southern Lebanon before, and it all ended disastrously. So it cannot be a given that this is a good thing to do, to put land forces into southern Lebanon.
No, I don't think so. But I'm not sure that bombing Hezbollah from the air only is going to be enough to get Israeli citizens to feel safe enough to move back into the northern villages and towns and kibbutzim. So it's a difficult. I don't think these are decisions taken lightly. One can suffer from hubris on the battlefield and win the battle but lose the war, so to speak.
You use an interesting expression there, decisions not taken lightly, but these seem increasingly to be decisions taken without constraint, that they have clearly decided to hell with it. We are not going to check with our allies. We are not going to stay bound by previous rules, which would have certainly included not striking within Iran. There's almost a to hell with it attitude.
Well, from Israel's perspective, I think it's self-reliance, and that nobody else is ultimately going to defend Israel. It's going to be Israel that defends Israel. It's been fighting on two fronts so far, in Gaza, and of course on the Lebanese border. There've been, as I said, thousands and thousands of rockets have come in from Hezbollah unprovoked. They started on the 8th of October, I do think this is an emboldened government. I think it is one of the most right-wing that Israel has ever had. I just read now that there were some dissenting voices in the cabinet about this escalation, but in the end, the Hawks seem to have outvoted the Doves, and we are where we are, and this is a very, very, very serious confrontation, and nobody really knows which way this is going to go.
Where does this leave Gaza, which has suddenly almost vanished from the conversation?
Yeah, the focus has definitely been on Lebanon for the last 2-3 weeks, but Israeli operations in Gaza continue. I think they have substantially weakened Hamas, and but fighting on two fronts for such a small country, and we also have learned in the past 48 hours that Israel has struck Yemen as well in retaliation for missiles that have been fired at it from the Houthis in Yemen. So for a small country of 10 million people to sustain a war on three fronts, if that's what it comes to, it's going to be extremely difficult. Israel's never had a war that has lasted this long. It has taken its toll on soldiers. There have been hundreds of them killed. And I think Israelis are also, in many ways, just fed up and want to get back to their lives.
What do you make of the response of Iran in that it very consciously said it will be up to Hezbollah to respond? A lot of people read great significance into that. Rather than saying, we will avenge, they seem to put a distance between themselves and the action.
Yeah, I think, Iran is demonstrated that it's been quite indecisive in this latest conflict,
Well, some would say restrained.
Well, some would say restrained, yes, but it also has also vowed to wipe Israel off the map and doesn't give it any legitimacy to exist. So I think it doesn't want a wider war. It doesn't want a direct confrontation. But it has all these proxy forces in the region that it's been supporting and arming for many years. But it doesn't want the locus of control to be coming from Tehran, as you've suggested. It wants the local groups to lead and do what works best for them. Yes, it may well have been restrained, but I think it's also in a very weakened position.
The other thought, which has got widespread prominence, is we assume that Hezbollah has sort of all-embracing support in Lebanon. But that is far from the truth, isn't it? There are many people who resent Hezbollah's presence and feel that they are contributing to the damage that is being done to the rest of Lebanon.
Yeah, absolutely, and this has been the case for many years. I mean, you saw after the strike on Friday and after the confirmation that Nasrallah was killed, that celebrations actually broke out in all different parts of the Middle East for people who really hate Hezbollah, despite them being very, very influential in southern Lebanon and in Lebanon as a whole. I think ordinary people see these forces as on all sides as doing their, not always doing them a favor, not always acting in the best interest of citizens.
Stephen Gruzd, thank you very much indeed. Analyst at the South African Institute of International Affairs.